Hi guys! So if you caught my last video, you know that we're making a Slytherpuff Quidditch player today. Try saying that 3 times fast. I'm making her for RetrodollUS's Harry Potter collab. For the base for this doll, I'm gonna use this Claudine. I think it's definitely one of my favorites, even though this is only my second Claudine that I've done. She came to me smelling pretty badly of smoke, so I've already chopped off her hair. Let's boil some water and quickly drown her. And then we'll pull her head off. Actually, I had a little issue here. I don't think I let her head get soft enough because when I pulled it off, her neck peg popped right out. I had a moment of panic and turned off the camera, but I was able to push it back into place pretty easily with a pair of pliers, and now she's fine again. Sorry about that. The ears are pretty cute, but this character doesn't need them, so using an X-Acto knife, I carefully cut them off. I'll keep these for later in case I decide I want another character to have ears. Do any of you other customizers have a disturbing box full of chopped off doll parts? I have 2 sets of Claudine ears and some Nephra arms so far. From this point on, it's business as usual. Scrape the inside of the head with a chopstick to get all the plugs out, then yank those plugs out with a pair of needle nose pliers that you stole from your dad. And finally wipe off her face with pure acetone. I mentioned that I really like working with Claudines, and that's because I find the face mold very versatile. You can make her look really soft or very sculpted, and her skin works super well with blushing. So with that in mind, I'm planning on going ham with the blushing on this doll, really accenting her skin tone and playing with the contour and highlight. Oh, I mentioned this Claudine came to me a little smoky, so to take care of that, I chopped off all the hair, and that's where most of the smell was. Then I put her in a Ziploc bag with some dryer sheets for a few days, and she smells really nice now. I should also mention that I've already rerooted this doll with yarn at this point. I did that off camera, so it'll be a surprise in the end when I take off the head burrito to show you her hair. If you'd like to see how to do a yarn reroot, check out my other video with my first Claudine where I go into much more detail about how to do that. I hit up all the usual places, red on the apples of the cheeks, lips, and nose, a little beige right under her eyes, and I'm also putting on a lot more blush around the eye than I usually do when I'm not specifically putting eye makeup on my characters. While I have the colors mixed up, I blush the body as well. This particular doll is going to be covered up with clothes from head to toe, but I like the option to change out my doll's clothes when I have them blushed underneath. Once I'm happy with the blushing, I go in with my watercolor pencils. I'm using Faber-Castell pencils, and I really recommend spending the little extra money to get these high quality pencils. I was using the Staedtler brand from Michaels, and I found it very difficult and frustrating to build up colors, especially the whites. So if you're new to the hobby, that's something to keep in mind. I start in with a mid-brown and sketch in the eye shape. Now, I've done a few dolls so far where they're just sort of looking out serenely with not much of a facial expression, so for this doll I wanted to give her a little attitude. Maybe because of the Slytherin part of her, and maybe because she's sporty, but probably just because I wanted to change from all these expressionless dolls. With that in mind, I've decided to give this girl a little smirk. So I'm trying to shape one eye so that it's slightly squinted, like her cheek is being lifted up there. This was harder than I'd expected, and I don't think I exaggerated the effect as much as I should have, and when I came around to add the details, I lost a bit of that squint. Oh well, I'm still learning, and again, I'm not an artist. I draw on Monster High heads and that's about it. If you catch me drawing a stick figure, it's an artsy day. Lately, I've been using a dark color that matches the iris for the pupil. I think it gives it a softer look, and I'm really in love with that hazy pupil look, but I haven't been able to figure out how to do it myself. So this is about as close as I can get right now. With all the components of the face laid out in a sketch, I spend a lot of time going over layers, building up the colors so that they're opaque, and look just the way that I want them to. I'm using brown for the lashes at the moment. I'll go in with black at the end, and I use red for her waterline, and white for the whites of the eyes, and for the iris themselves, the most important part of the smirk is, of course, the smile. Smirk? Smirk smile? The line of the lips. Using a darkish brown, I draw the corner of the mouth out and add a little circle that's supposed to be a dimple. I wanted to try something a little different. I've made a number of dolls with brown eyes, and I've never used the same colors for any of them. I use brown, of course, but for the base, I usually switch it up. And for the base on this one, I'm gonna go in with a soft peach color. Since this is such a light color, I have to build it up a lot, going over with layers and layers of AMSC and pencil, but in the end I think it's really worth it. This doll has one of my favorite brown eyes. Another tip I have for artists is don't be afraid to make the eyebrows too thick. I think I had this idea that since the doll head is so small and that their eyebrows had to be really thin and delicate, but I'm finding that the thicker I push the brows, the more I like them. Monster High heads seem to have a large forehead, and there's gotta be something in there, so don't let all that real estate go to waste. I use a flat angled brush to lay down some pastel dust where I think I want the eyebrows to go, and then shape things up with my kneaded eraser. You could probably use a regular eraser too, but the nice thing with the kneaded eraser is that you can shape it into whatever you need. I like to pinch out an area flat to shape the eyebrows. I use the long edge to cut angles into the arch and make a taper really easily. Then when I need to clean up around the lips, I can make it into a blob and just kind of mush it in under her chin, and that usually cleans up any extra color from around the mouth. Here I'm coming back with the black, darkening up her lashes, and finally drawing them in. I usually glue on lashes because frankly I'm not very good at drawing them on. I keep trying to flick them on with my pencil, and because the style I'm putting on their face is actually really cartoony, those quote-unquote realistic lashes look pretty bad. This time I'm going for a really stylized chunky lash where you see 3 or 4 individual lashes on top and bottom. I also thickened up the line I'm using for her top lash line, more like a cat eye eyeliner effect. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think they're my best drawn lashes yet. After a while, I get tired of trying to build up colors with my pencils alone. I know some people can get through the whole face up with just pencils, and I really don't understand how. Okay, I do. I know they just keep going in with layers and layers and layers of MSC, but that takes such a long time, and I am an impatient child. So I always finish off my faces by just lifting pigment straight off the pencils with a tiny, tiny brush. She looks kind of cool with the bright, pale peach eyes, but I'm pretty intent on going for brown with these eyes, so I eventually add in some dark brown on top of the iris to tone down the look. I've never been able to get my pencil sharp enough to get all the way down in the crease of the lips. It usually just leaves 2 tiny lines on each lip, so I really define the lip line by using a brush. I really wanted to try giving this doll freckles. I tried freckles on one doll before, Kiko Kitagawa, but that was more by accident than anything else. Plus, I used my pencils on her, so for this doll, let's try a different method. I mix up a mid-brown with my acrylics and add a ton of water to it. Then, using a stiff brush, I carefully flick the paint onto her face. Make sure you have something under the doll if you're doing this on a surface that you can't clean easily. I use the lid of my pastels box. Keep a damp paper towel near you to clean off any freckles that you don't like. I had a few that were too big and one that got in her eye. You just wipe those off. Finally, I use a peach-colored pencil to add some highlights to her face, a little under the brow bone, a little on the tip of her nose, and the cupid's bow. Gloss her eyes and put her head back on her body, and she's finished. I tried a lot of new things with this doll, a new technique in drawing the lashes, a different expression from the mold, and of course the freckles. I'm really trying to push myself to put more detail around the eyes, and I think it shows with this doll. I'm really happy with how she came out. She's one of my favorites. I'm going to name her Gia Grimwood. One of my friends mentioned that Gia might be pronounced as Gaia, and I should probably go with Gia, but I'm a sucker for alliteration, so she's just gonna stay Gia with a G. I also wanted to use yarn for her hair since I thought it would make cool twists. She also has a Slytherpuff green braid. Personally, I'm a Hufflepuff, so she's almost in my house. What house are you in? I took a few pictures of her with Agnes, my other Claudine custom. They're so cute together. Maybe they're sisters. I feel like Agnes would be more of a Griffin Puff than a Slytherpuff, but definitely a Puff something. If you would like a Slytherpuff item of your own or any of the other house mashups, all of my designs are for sale over on Redbubble, and if you'd like to buy Gia here, she's for sale up on my Etsy. Links. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more doll content. I put out a new video every other Thursday. You can follow me over on Instagram for behind the scenes stuff and sneak peeks. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now!